Wait for the beat drop there. Welcome back into the Wolves Den. Jay Bir with you like I always am. There you see it right down there. Follow me on the Twitter. I happen to think I'm a highly entertaining Twitter follow. Let's get into things here. Big game this week for the Red Wolves. Hey, boy, do they need this one. Something fierce. Not only was it homecoming out there, but you had a winnable game. And to top that off, it was a game that they really needed to try to get a W in, not just for the morale of the team, but also for bowl eligibility. Starting to get into that time of year where we have to start kicking those things around a little bit here. But let's jump right into the highlights here. Big time homecoming, Mohajer Falls, always in full flex. Texas State flexing early, and this was 4th and 1 here. Man, got a break there on that one, kind of a little bit of a pick play. But then Arkansas State, after that, and that was the opening drive for the Bobcats, rattled off a 16-play, a roughly 7.5-minute drive, and a lot of that was because of that fellow right there, Lane Hatcher. You also see Jamal Jones there getting into the act. They actually converted 4 third downs on this drive. Here was the climax of that drive. Omar Bayless doing what Omar Bayless does. That is actually now a school record 11th touchdown reception for him on the year. So big ups to the big fella, and there's still plenty of time left. Defense finally doing some defensive things, forcing the fumble there. Unfortunately for the offense, they had to settle for the field goal. Couldn't punch it in from 3 out. But hey, 10-0 lead early on in this thing. Later here, second quarter, you see, good to have that man back again. I cannot emphasize. Well, actually, that's Jamal Jones. Who am I kidding here? The fella, he has been a very nice compliment this season so far to Marcel Murray. Throw up the dogs there, big fella. Texas State, though, they're a feisty team. They got nothing to lose. They would climb back a little bit into this one. You see Caleb Twyford there on the 2-yard run. And then just getting a little something going there. Fall just short of the touchdown. And this game got interesting right before halftime. And you have to think, oh, man, here we go again. But then defense would settle in, and they settled in hard on Tyler Vitt. Man, he had no room to breathe. And then how about this? You know, if we're showing punts, something big's happening. Boom! Omar Bayless, he does it all, man. He actually got that block there. That's his first career punt block. So how about that? Man is everywhere on the football field. And then that's the guy I was talking about. Good to have Marcel Murray back in here. The human Mario Kart bouncing around in there, gets the score. It's 24-14 at that point. And then here we go. Secondary doing it. Nathan Page, Robinson High School, stand up. Guy was all over the place. We'll talk about him here in just a hot second. Again, we're showing punts. That means things are happening. B.J. Edmonds, a little hesitant on this one. And then boom, finds just a little bit of room. Unfortunately for him, just out in the middle of nowhere in the 27-yard line, gets the tackle there on him. Probably would have taken that one to the house, but literally about 2 plays later here, Marcel Murray just, I'm telling you, man, the human Mario Kart. He was red shell all over the place there. Got the score there. Defense doing what the defense does. In that third quarter, actually, and I might be a little off on the number here, they gave up 8 yards of offense to the Bobcats. And you see Nathan Page getting number 2 on the night. Give that man the turnover belt. And here you go, last touchdown of the game there, a very nonchalant touchdown reception there by Omar Bayless. Doing Omar Bayless things. He had a big night. He's obviously also in the record books here for the Red Wolves. Again, just adding to that record-breaking touchdown reception number. He's up to 12 now. He's also leading the nation. In fact, that guy's leading the nation in just about every receiver category is. He's tops in receiving yards. He's tops in touchdowns. He's tops in yards per game. And I want to say he's up there in the top billing there in terms of actual receptions here. But let's get to some of the stats from this game because there's a few to break down. Lane Hatcher, okay night, 18 of 28, 158 yards. Had the 2 touchdown passes there, 2-1 Omar Bayless. And then speaking of Omar Bayless, 7 catches, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. So an all right night for him in terms of the yards and everything. Marcel Murray had a big night, 22 carries, 114 yards on the ground. Also had him a pair of touchdowns. Darion Jackson leading the way on that defense again. 8 total tackles, 5 solo. And then third downs. We've been talking about third downs for a few weeks here now. And finally that defense started to get teams off the field. You see the numbers there, 2 of 12 for the Texas State there. Not sure why it says ULM, so that's on us right there. But just remember, it's Texas State. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here. That's a little prequel to next week there. Texas State with 227 total yards. ASU 364 rushing the ball. That was a real big one here because Arkansas State's defense has just been getting gashed this year so far. Throw it up there, guys. 206 yards on the ground for the Red Wolves, only 81 for Texas State. So that was huge. The defense in general, 3 turnovers. There was also a fumble recovery. Logan Westcott getting his first career fumble recovery in the game as well. Only allowed 8 first downs total in this game. So big showing of the defense there you see from some of the numbers there. And then the time of possession. Not one of them things we don't talk about much just because of the nature of the offense, but man, that offense held on to the ball this game. When teams don't have the ball, chances are they don't score. And there you see a pretty vast difference in things. And that's a little different here from what we've come accustomed to from Arkansas State. They like to work fast. They like to be methodical in their attack. They like to get the ball up and down. And we've seen that a lot this year. There was a few drives there against Troy, against Georgia State, where drives only lasted a minute. And then you have games like this. And this is kind of where we've been harping on that running game, where it really can help you out a little bit. If you can get that running game going, offense will start clicking. You start holding on to the ball. You give your defense a break. Your defense can perform. Look at that. It all goes hand in hand. It's harmonious here. Love it. Love to see that there. But you see almost 40 minutes of holding the ball, 37-20 as opposed to the 22-40 for the Bobcats. So big time thing from the defense. And again, I can't stress enough, it was about time that they showed up. Now you saw some things that were a little schematically different in this one. 3 down linemen in this one, getting a little more speed on the outside just because, and I think they're having to do this basically because of the numbers. They had so many injuries to that defensive front that they've had to adjust a little bit. And I think this is what you're seeing. So you can blitz a little differently now. And it's not that they're running at 3-4. It's more of a 3-5 type of offense, kind of that nickel. And then there too, just Lane Hatcher. What can you say about that kid? He has just been stellar. I mean, you never know he was a freshman quarterback. He's taken what defenses give him offensively as a whole. This team has really started to do that. I mean, if you throw that guy the ball, chances are something good is going to come of it. And you like to see them still feeding Bayless, because a lot of times you'd see teams where a guy gets hot for a couple weeks and then he kind of falls off here. But that guy has been Superman everywhere on this field, and it's crazy. And even Blake Grupe, I personally can't stress enough for him. He has been rock solid this year. He's hit some real long field goals, especially with that. It was such a struggle in years past, and even for him personally. He got challenged in spring ball. They brought a kid in to really try to push him, and he stepped up to the plate, and you're seeing the fruits of that labor here. He's been real good on the year. All right, you saw ULM there when it should have said Texas State, so that's our bad, but we call that foreshadowing here in the business. Next week, big game on the road in Monroe. This one actually got moved up for television purposes, so you can actually see this one on ESPNU 230 if you don't happen to be around the Monroe area here. It's a good old-fashioned rival game right here, the Battle of the Indians, or the former Indians, I guess, in this case, with both teams having changed their mascots over the years. But here we go. So what do you got to do here with this team? You have to defend the ageless wonder that is Caleb Evans. I swear this guy is 47 years old. It feels like he's been there forever, but he's a mobile quarterback. He can throw well. He can run well. So this is really a guy that you've got to key on here. Now, he hasn't really lit it up in terms of his rushing numbers this year. This team has kind of been a little roller coastery. There's games where they've been really, really good, and there's been some games where they've maybe not so good. We remember the Florida State game earlier in the year where they really probably should have won that game. Now, granted, Florida State is not the Florida State of old, so what can you expect here? But still, to go into that environment, to push that team to the limit. It came down to a missed extra point in overtime. So an unfortunate loss for them. But this is a team that they can spread it out, and this is a team that has given Arkansas State some fits in recent years, and especially with that guy Evans there. So you really got to get somebody on him. You've got to make him uncomfortable. You've got to get him thinking, make him get rid of the ball, because we saw once the Arkansas State's defense finally put a little pressure on Texas State, on Tyler Vitt, weird things happen. Either he's going down or he's throwing things off his back foot, and that's how Nathan Page got that one interception there. His second of the night, just threw it off the back foot and went up and got it here. Another guy you got to really defend there is that tight end that they've got there for Monroe. He's one of the better ones in the conference. Kind of going into the defensive backs, they need to stand tall in this one. I kind of reiterating that point there, that got to jam guys up here. I know this has been a thing that I've harped on throughout the season, where they're giving a lot of cushion here, because that's some of the stuff you see in the video that these guys can do. You can't give them a lot of wide open space because they've got some dudes they can run. Caleb Evans can deliver balls. Boom, right here. He can fit some tight windows here. Now, granted, that's against South Alabama, not quite Arkansas State. Here's that Florida State game. Look at there. He drops them. Don't let those guys get behind you. Those guys have really got to step up in this one. Kind of goes hand in hand here. So what else do you need to do? Feed Bayless. Hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Keep giving that guy the ball. He is a touchdown machine. He's going to get you some yards. He's going to get you some yards after the catch. You see how tough that guy runs. He also blocks downfield. In fact, all these receivers block downfield very, very well, which kind of leads me into my next point here. I need more Marcel. No, it's kind of become a two-headed monster on offense for this team. Well, I say two-headed, but really a lot of guys are contributing. But those guys are really having some kind of season right now. Marcel Murray's been just lighting it up. He's over 100 yards the past few games. He's over 20 carries in kind of those games. He even had 35 a couple weeks ago. So you got to have that. But most importantly, you got to bring the heat. Bring that energy. Monroe, love him to death, but sometimes it can be kind of a dead zone in there. And we saw this last year, too, against Texas State, where the Bobcats just really don't have a lot of home atmosphere. You kind of got to bring your own hype. And I know a lot of times these guys will feed off of away crowds giving them the business. Sometimes even that gets you hype. Even if they're against you, you still kind of get jazzed up for that. Guys like to hear that, especially when they're on the road. People not cheering for them. So even then. But when just nobody's there, gets a little stale, gets a little static. And, you know, that's when we've seen this team struggle a little bit early on in games, especially when it's just, you know, dead crowds, things like that. But Monroe, bring it. Let's bring the energy here. Not only from the away crowd, but this team needs to bring it if they're not there. So it'll be interesting here. But this game is always one that gets fascinating, and it's going to get wild in this one. I remember some 50 to 50 type of affairs in this one. These teams are going to be back and forth because really offenses both real strong in this one. Defenses have been a little this year for both of these teams. So it's going to be fun to watch this one. Again, moved on up, 2:30 kickoff. It was a 6 o'clock originally. Moved it to the big television here. So, again, if you don't get down to Monroe, get it on your big screen there. Kickback here. I'm not a kickbacker. I'm more of a pace and watch kind of dude. I got to stand up to watch these games. I like to walk around. I like to feel like I'm involved here on the sidelines here. But that's it. Hopefully we'll get some folks here. We actually had someone scheduled to come in to kind of chop it up with us this morning. Unfortunately, had some change of plans there on that, but we'll get you guys squared away here soon enough here. We got to get some other takes other than mine because you guys are getting sick and tired of me, I can only imagine here. But do want to apologize for last week, guys. We had some technical difficulties with some things, but we are back and we are better than ever here in this one. So be on the lookout here for this one as we get going here throughout the season. Again, next week we're going to start looking at some bowl scenarios here because it is that time of year. Arkansas State looking to get back involved in some of this. They kind of fell off a couple weeks ago, and this one was looking a little rough here. Now they're up to 4 wins. Got 4 games left in this one, so sitting at 500, you're looking pretty to be bowl eligible here. So we'll have to see how it works. And this team travels so well, so you know they're going to be in a bowl. But which one? Yet to be seen here. So that'll wrap things up here for us this week here. Again, on Monroe. They're in Monroe. Hopefully they're on Monroe in a full 60-minute affair there down there in Louisiana here. But again, Red Wolves, Warhawks next week. We will see y'all then.